Aggression is a topic with plenty of research that explains the physiological origins along with the emotional components to the behavior of acting aggressive. What is interesting is that we differ in our levels of aggression and are in the position to measure the outcomes. My name is Colette, and I am a graduate student in the Masters of Applied Psychology program at Liberty University. And this presentation will cover 5 key topics from our social psychology text by Kassim, Fien, and Marcus, along with our theories in social psychology text by Chadi, while integrating the assigned articles for this module. So, what is aggression? Kassim, Fien, and Marcus define aggression as being a behavior intended to harm another individual. There are 2 types of aggression. You have proactive aggression, which is harm inflicted as means to a desired end, and then you have reactive aggression, which is harm inflicted for own sake. And I'll give some examples later on in the presentation. So why are we aggressive? There are 4 components to answer this question: evolution, genetics, hormones, and cognition. With evolution, that refers to our natural masculine and feminine roles, with the referring to men being hunters and competitive, while women nurture and protect. Men are more physically violent than women, as been evidenced with a lot of research. And this speaks to the concept of the proactive and reactive aggression, which we'll give more detail later. With genetics, there is current evidence cited in our text by Kassim proving that there is a link from the MAOA gene to aggression. Regarding hormones, it has been proven that testosterone and serotonin levels contribute to aggression. Cognition refers to the brain as having an executive function process that allows for reasoning in response to stimuli in a flexible manner. I see this process like a filter or mental editor. Aggression is also learned through mimicking and social learning, for example, parents disciplining their children using corporal punishment. An article titled Parenting Behavior and the Risk of Becoming a Victim and Bully Victim examined the impact of aggressive parenting styles predicting children will become victims of bullying or bully victims mean being the bully. The results indicated that both victims and bullies that are victims were more likely to be exposed to negative parenting behavior, including abuse and neglect and maladaptive parenting, while positive parenting behaviors such as affection and communication protected against peer victimization. There are some differences in aggression. You have culture difference, gender differences, and individual differences. With culture, our text by Kassim presented cross-society evidence that compared nations. Although aggression varies, it appears that countries with wide disparities in income tend to have higher murder rates than societies with less disparities. This probably explains why the US has a high murder rate. Another difference is collective cultures versus individualistic cultures. With individualistic cultures, because they're more focused on the self, it has a greater chance of aggression versus those collective cultures who are more concerned about the group and the positive outcomes of the group as a whole. Regarding gender, it is evidence that males are more physically aggressive than females, usually resolving their conflict with physical aggression through fist fighting. This is the proactive aggression that was mentioned earlier. Females, in contrast, are more relational with their aggression. However, they will get in mama bear mode in appearance of a threat if it means survival of themselves and while protecting their children. With individuals, the individual difference in aggression has a lot to do with personality. Our social psychology text mentioned the dark triad, which consists of 3 personality types: narcissists, Machiavellians, and psychopaths. There are some situational influences of aggression. You have the frustration aggression hypotheses, along with negative affect and arousal, automatic versus deliberate, and self control and substance use. The frustration aggression hypothesis is the idea that frustrations only cause aggression. This idea makes sense if the concepts of negative affect and arousal are the only considerations. It was later learned that other factors contribute to aggression, such as environment and cognition. An example of environment could be social economic issues and its reaction to those issues. To illustrate this point, a study conducted by Gretzemeyer and Sayalagu in 2016, which is one of our articles, sought to address the relation between socioeconomic status and their aggression levels. The results found that comprehensive the results found comprehensive support of the key predictions derived from the theory of relative deprivation of how the perception of low SES is related to the person's judgment, emotional reactions, and actions. Negative affect are bad moods or feelings that create negative feelings leading to increased aggression. Arousal plays a role through excitation transfer, which is arousal from one stimulus intensifying emotional response to another stimulus. An example of this can be seen in when people exercise. Automatic versus deliberate deals with our brain immediately processing aggressive cues, be it seen or felt. As an example to illustrate, our social psychology text briefly discuss weapon effect. The effect that is caused is increased aggression in the presence of weapons like guns. In contrast, deliberate processes of aggression require higher order cognition, which is thinking before reacting. This process involves weighing the cost of anticipated reaction for an appropriate response. Meanings are acquired socially, either directly through others or indirectly from assuming the other person's perspective. Our theories in social psychology text by Chatty discuss not only how we find meaning in our interactions, but also the means to measure the interaction. The Gestalt perspective, as it relates to aggression, stems from the idea that we tend to find meaning in our interactions as a means to understand the outcome of an aggressive situation. Symbolic interactionism is finding meaning in our social interactions through social cues from the interaction based on experiences. For example, you have a positive interaction with an object or person, deeming that person or thing as good, until a negative interaction influences change to your perception of that object or thing. Symbolic interactionism has two schools of thought. The Chicago School of Thought, which is focused more on the process of SI, while the Indiana School of Thought focuses primarily on the structure of SI with some flexibility. From these two schools of thought came the SI model with tools of measurement in cybernetics. Cybernetics is a computer program that measures symbolic interactions that predicts corresponding behavior by simulations of SI situations. Violence in popular media has such an impact on behavior, it makes you wonder if life imitates art. Objectification and dehumanization are ways that media, such as television, movies, and even music, desensitize people from aggressive behavior, which is accomplished through constant exposure. Our text brought up pornography. Um, of course, there's not a lot of empirical data for obvious reasons. However, there is evidence that suggests that violent porn or movies is more likely to contribute to aggression than nonviolent porn or nonviolent movies and music. Cyberbullies can inflict significant psychological harm on the recipient of the hurtful or aggressive message. Social media and cyberbullying is a new phenomenon that began on social media sites and is producing growing concerns, especially among youth who have access to social media. A study by Savage and Takunga utilized general aggression theory to contribute to a better theoretical understanding of the confluence of inputs that goes into decision making involving cyberbullying perpetration. The results indicated that verbal aggression was consistently and positively associated with cyberbullying perpetration. The results further revealed that the interaction between verbal aggressiveness and social skills on cyberbullying perpetration depended on one's level of internet self-efficacy. Cyberbullying games are trending in social media, achieving desired outcomes of the games ending in suicide. I'm sure you're all aware of these games, and it is concerning the extents that people will go to just to be accepted. What's really disheartening are the games that target children, such as this Momo character that has been in the news recently. There are ways that we can reduce aggression, and you can take a look at these. Our books listed 12, but I'm only just going to read off two that I think are most important. The first one I think is important, and I think is important. However, all of them are important for us to utilize in reducing aggression and violence. To conclude this presentation, I would like to say that our behavior is strongly influenced by what we see in our social environments along with what is seen in popular media. Being able to differentiate between what is real and what is not is something that we must continue to practice for us to be on our best behavior. It is natural to be competitive and to